The trials system in ARCRaiders is inherently flawed. In this video, I am going to explain why it is flawed and what needs to be done in order to fix it. Before I begin analysing all of the issues that exist with the trial system, I want to preface this video by stating that I do believe the trial system in theory is an excellent idea. It provides a basis to foster an environment of competitivity, which in my opinion is essential for a game such as ARCRaiders. However, the problems arise with its practical implementation. I do believe that if these practical issues can be ironed out, Embark will have a compelling ranked competitive system within their game that I believe will engage and cultivate a healthy competitive environment just as intended. Without further ado, let's dive right into the issues and how they can be fixed. Issue number 1 is the manner in which leaderboards and leagues are established at the beginning of each trial week. Players are only put into a league when they first score points in a trial. This means that if you play on a Monday, you will be put into a league on Monday. Conversely, if you don't score your first trial points or play Arc until, say, Thursday, you will not be entered into a league until Thursday. What this means is that if you're just a casual Arc player and you fancied a 2-hour gaming session on Monday morning because you had a day off, there is a strong likelihood that you will be put automatically into a league with 99 other players that are unemployed and extremely sweaty at the game. The problem with this is that players have discovered a workaround to avoid being put in these overly competitive leagues. And that workaround is that some players are intentionally not playing ARCRaiders until much later in the week, or sometimes even only on the weekend, in order to strategically force a placement into an easier league with easier competition. This means that the competitive component of ARCRaiders is quite literally encouraging its players to play the game less. If ARCRaiders wants to continue topping charts and dominating the extraction shooter genre, then this problem needs to be fixed ASAP. Now, how does Embark go about fixing this issue? In my opinion, it's quite simple. On Trials Reset, everybody should be randomly put into a league within their corresponding rank, whether they have or haven't yet played the game. This will prevent the ability to gamify the system by forcibly targeting yourself into easier leagues, therefore removing the benefit of not playing the game until the weekend, and hopefully encouraging players to play more consistently throughout the week. Issue number 2 is that solo players stand absolutely no chance when competing against teams of 2 or teams of 3. Now, the solo playability of ARCRaiders is one of the key aspects of the game that helps it to be so popular. Players love the option of playing solo, and rightfully so, and in my opinion, they should not be penalised for doing so. When it comes to trials specifically, solo players are quite literally hard capped in terms of the maximum amount of points they can earn compared to their duo or trio counterparts. This is because the point system hasn't been normalised for group size. If a solo player kills 2 Rocketeers, they get about 4,000 or so points. And if a team of 3 kills 2 Rocketeers, they also get 4,000 or so points each. But what this means is that effectively, as a group, they scored about 12,000 points. If you combine this with the fact that the time to kill a Rocketeer for trios is roughly 3 times faster than a solo player, solos simply cannot compete with trios in terms of farming efficiency and maximum point potential. This means that unless you have reliable teammates that are able to get online at the same time as you consistently throughout the week, you don't really stand much chance of seeing a trials promotion once you begin to reach the sweaty higher ranks. The fix for this again is quite simple in my opinion. You have 2 options. Option number 1 would be to create a separate leaderboard for solo and trios. This would require a little bit of fine tuning in order to be implemented correctly, as there are some nuances that do need to be accounted for, but I do believe it is possible. Option number 2 would be to standardise the points scored by a solo player. For example, if you do trials as a solo, you earn 1.5x the points or 1.25x the points. I've not done the maths on this, but I would imagine it is not quite as simple of a solution as option number 1. Now, this brings me on to the third and final issue with the trial system, which really is a combination of 2 issues, but I've grouped it into one. And that is that the gameplay loop for trials is just boring. It's boring, repetitive, and to some extent, it's luck-based. If we take the first wave husks trial as an example, this trial is not only extremely boring and repetitive, as you need to sprint around the map spamming adrenaline stims and avoiding PvP for 40 minutes, but it also requires the perfect alignment of conditions in order to have a shot at scoring maximum points. For starters, there is only a 2-hour window each day where maximum points can be achieved on this trial, and that is when the hidden bunker is up. For my time zone, that's 10 AM to 11 AM and 7 PM to 8 PM. If somebody has real life commitments that means they aren't able to play at either of those pretty specific times, they will literally not be able to compete for maximum points, as they are missing the only window where maximum potential points is practically achievable. Now, secondly, and to be honest, this is an issue all of its own that deserves its own video entirely, and isn't just problematic when it comes to the trial system, but that is that you need to hope that you spawn in at the start of the raid, and if you don't, you will be practically forced to extract instantly and reset the raid. This can be extraordinarily tedious if you spawn, which has happened to me, late 3 times in a row. You know, I've spawned in 5 minutes, 10 minutes late, extracted, went into another raid, been 3 minutes late, extracted again, went into another raid, been 15 minutes late, and extracted again. I mean, that, in my opinion, just isn't conducive to engaging gameplay, and as mentioned at the beginning of this issue, it's just boring and repetitive. I mean, that is the ultimate example of boring and repetitive, in my opinion. So let's break down the fixes for these two aspects of issue 3. With regards to the hidden bunker abuse, I would suggest that there are 2 options. Embark can either make this raid just 30 minutes long and standardize it against all other raid timers. I would imagine this would require them to adjust the download data times, the data download times accordingly, because I think one of the main reasons for hidden bunker being 40 minutes is that in order to get all 8 data downloads, you know, there needs to be a bigger window of time there in order to do that, because it takes a while to download the data. So that would require that adjustment, but that is a option. Or alternatively, which I think would be a more simpler fix, would be to make the event timers dynamic. So rather than having set times per day where certain map additions arise, such as the hidden bunker being the same every single day of the week, these could be made dynamic, in other words, random, and that would give people who currently can't play at, say, 7 to 8 PM a chance to be online at a time when hidden bunker is live. Now, on to the second element of issue number 3, which is late spawning times. The fix here, for me, is extremely simple. I think Embark can learn from Tarkov here and fix a few issues with one change. Very simply, if you go in geared, i.e. if you go in as a custom loadout, you should always spawn at the beginning of a raid. You know, that's pretty straightforward to me. There should be no circumstance under which you spawn late. Conversely, if you use a free loadout, that is when I believe that Arc should use the late spawn mechanism. I think the late spawn mechanism should be reserved solely for free loadout usage. That way you're kind of hitting a few birds with one stone there. You're giving a soft nerf to free loadouts, which, as everybody knows, they are a bit OP at the moment. You're fixing the annoyance and the poor gameplay loop of custom loadouts spawning you late when you are fully geared and going for a quest or a trial. And you're also fixing the issue that currently exists with trials, where if you spawn late and you need a 30-minute raid, which is often the case, or 40-minute on the bunker, then you just have to extract and go again. It is safe to say that with a few adjustments, the trial system in ARCRaiders could prove to be a key feature of the game. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you believe I missed any issues or fixes, please let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, stay safe on topside. Take care.